Alright guys, so we are going to get into some Illustrator drawing. This one's kind of a little bit hardcore, but it'll cover a lot of good stuff, so hopefully you guys will stay patient and kind of dig in and really have fun. So go ahead and drag in, you'll find a file called Samsung Remote. This is actually a really old school remote that I had at my house. I just took a photo of it and then, and then that's what that is. So go ahead and lock that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to try to redraw that kind of Illustrator style. Now obviously you guys can go and select this and then do the Illustrator trace, and it'll get you pretty close, but I like for you guys to try to draw it from scratch. So let's first start with the body. So the body's going to be pretty much a rectangle, and it's actually kind of a flat at the top. And let's give it a little curve here. There's a curve at the top, but we could fix that later, and we'll accept it. Let's go so we can see through it. So there we go. So we have this body. There's a little bit of a radius here in this body, so we're going to go ahead and add an anchor point to the middle. And then we're going to change that anchor point to a curve point. So by clicking and dragging, and be careful that you don't start clicking and dragging like this, because you're twisting that. So I'm going to come back here and kind of make this thing as wide as possible, and I'm holding down the shift key. And then after that, I can come back in here and pull this guy down a little. Right. And obviously don't do that, I mean, just really use your eye to get it to kind of the shape that you feel like it should be. Okay, so I say that's a pretty decent way to start that base. And then we're just gonna layer it on top of it, over and over again. So I'm just gonna, let's take this. Let's do that and kind of scale it, bring it back. Yeah, again, I'm going to accept that. I'm not going to be too crazy and anal about things like that. And then let's come here. We actually don't want these points, so I'm going to see if I can just delete it. And then maybe I'll just move that there. And then I'll make that a straight point by clicking on it, or clicking on that handle to make that handle go away, and make that handle go away. And kind of, oops. And here, this is where it gets kind of crazy too, though. If you had CAD, you can draw it perfectly. But anyway, I'm going to select these two guys here, right click, and then join them so that there's like one continuous piece. Let me see. Yeah, this remote is actually kind of like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'm kind of geeking out on this one, guys, so sorry. I'm going to kind of do that. Do that. Yeah, that works for me. Well, actually not, because I won't really do the whole remote, but I do definitely want to do it as close to like professional work, so just bear with me here. I'm going to select both of these so that I can center them so that there's equal spacing on either side of this remote. And then here I'm going to come back in here and take this point and take that point and snap it to that. Take that point and snap it to that. So yeah, I think that looks good. So there's that. So I kind of have the body kind of done. And what happened here? I don't know at what point I moved this, but that's not good. Yeah, and then obviously this is not symmetrical. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a box rectangle like that, and I'm going to cut it through, right? So let's just first kind of color everything so we know what we're dealing with. And I'm going to take that, and let me just, when you do subtraction, it subtracts with the most top layer. So I don't know if it's going to subtract both of these guys, but we'll see. Yeah, Illustrator's pretty smart. Oh, actually got rid of the other one too. Now I want to go from here to here. Oops, shift to here, subtract the top. And then I can now take this and reflect it. I think it's a vertical, is it? Nope. Hold on, let me undo it. All right, I'm back. I didn't want you to hear the keyboard clacking like 50 times to undo. So anyway, I picked the wrong reflect. I always get confused whether it should be horizontal or vertical. But anyway, vertical, click that. And then after that, I can just bring this and join them together. Shift, select both of those, and then combine them. I should get one. So there we go. So now I have the top, you know, at least the whole body kind of done. And let's see. At this point, let me show you guys how to change stuff in different layers. So these two shapes are in the same layer. So if I select this one, you see how there's a little dot? I just drag that dot to the next layer, and then now that top piece is on a separate layer, and then the bottom piece is on a separate layer, right? So I'm just going to say body base and body top. Okay. So I can hide the body top for now. The body base, I actually just want to give it a nice gray scale gradient here. So let's get into the gradient. But this is also your colors that you have available in Illustrator. So you have your default swatch. Right now, there's not a whole lot loaded here in the default. I had a color tab, which allows you to pick, create your own custom mix. Color guide, it's like a different swatch. I'm going to just close that out for now. Art and illustration, basic colors for art and illustration. I'm going to close that out. Of course, you can make your own custom swatches and all that other good stuff. So if you come down here to your swatches, you'll see a little bookshelf looking thing. It's the library. If you come in here, you could get like different types of predefined color swatches. Right? So you can go to art history and go to, I guess, Baroque. And it'll give you some series of Baroque color schemes. And then you got the impression and Pantone, CMYK. I mean, you have tons of things to pick from. I'm going to go back to the library here or here, same thing. And then what you want to do is you want to go into the gradients tab, and then maybe we want to get metals. So now we have the metal swatches. I can actually pop that in here and park it in here. Close this one out. So when I come to this particular shape, let's say I can pick one of these things, which is like steel or silver. And so it kind of does this gradient. And basically this is what you're looking at. It's going to go from this white to this dark, back to this white, to like a slightly darker, and then to a medium. So it kind of has this, predefined kind of a band, like if you were looking at a aluminum can or something like that. You can go to your gradient and kind of change the direction of that gradient. Oops. Which is what I want to do now. Actually, I want the gradient to go from the top down. Kind of like that. And then I don't really want this much banding, so I can just drag it out. I'm gonna drag out some of these. Maybe I'll do something like that. And leave that highlight. Sure. So I kind of have a body. It kind of looks like a slick glass or something like that. I think that looks cool. Then I put my thing on top, and you can see that now I'm kind of getting a 3D effect of some sort, right? Let me see here. Now let me actually go to this layer. I'm going to select and make a copy of it on the side so I can kind of see what I'm looking at. Then go back and lock it. Alright, so I'm gonna pretend like the the light is coming down here, so actually I want that to be a little bit darker. So I'm gonna come back to my gradient here and maybe bring this, or actually I'm gonna make this color much darker. So the way you do that is that you select this color range, which is this is the fill color, and then pick any color you want, and then it turns into that color, right? So anyway, obviously I don't want that teal blue. I'm going to come down here and kind of get a darker gray going. And that, I think that might look alright. I know that looks funky right now, but remember I have this thing on top, right? So now it looks like it's tapering down. And then up here, maybe I'll put a gradient here, but I think I'm going to put more of a simpler gradient. So I don't know if I could just take a regular, goes from these three color range. And again, I might just go straight up and down, assuming that the light's coming from here to there. And actually, I probably want this to be a little bit lighter gray so that there's a big contrast between here and here. This is where if you kind of have taken art classes in the past, it'll help you kind of determine kind of your shading strategy, but I'm fine with that. I think that looks pretty decent. So now let's go ahead and hide everything else, and then let's work on the buttons on top. I'm going to give you guys a quick break.